Welcome to the All New Marvel Roundup, your guide to the weekly Marvel comics. I am Phil.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm Phil. And with me, as always, is Charlie.
Yes, I am.
All right, Charlie.
Okay, so big haul for comics this week. Wound up over $30, man. Killing myself. Let's open up with the final chapter of Operation Sin. It's over. It's over now, and I mean, it was okay. Really, here's what I'll tell you. Here's what I'll say is the selling point of this book, and that is at the very end you realize how corrupt in many ways the world is here. Because we see, Stark, sneaking the alien technology out of Russia. We see the Soviets essentially torturing the two young people that we have here, the meta-human Ursa Mikhail, who, of course, we know grows into Ursa Major, and this girl, Tanya, who is, maybe a proto-Black Widow kind of character. And, of course, how just utterly violent and suspicious McCord is, and really how ruthless Howard Stark is, and you get that Sin. What Sin stood for was Stark Industries Nuclear. So it was part of his nuclear program, and he somehow steals the heart of the starship that was used to get the Eben Searcher to leave the planet B, but somehow he still has it at the end of this, and he has it shipped back to him. So I don't know if he's also just doomed the Earth to eventual destruction at the hands of the Eben Searcher. So, it's a fine book after it all said and done, but unless you really needed to get a Peggy Carter book, this as a series, it was kind of, medium. And although I will say that I really liked Peggy throughout it, I just felt the story never quite gelled and never quite got off the ground. It just sort of, this happened and this happened and this happened. And it just, I never really got pulled into the dramatic tension of it. Dialogue and fun events and fun characters aside. So next book I got was, because I got
thumbs up.
Thumb 3/4 of the way up. As a series, I'll say thumb sideways. But here's what I'll say: as a series, I'll say thumb sideways. For that individual issue, I'll say thumb sideways, moving down until the very last page when you move a little bit up, and then the very last pages when you move a little bit up. And for this series, I'll say it's about 3/4 up. It's just, and I think I gave 2 ratings for the series. It started a lot stronger than it finished, which is, honestly, I guess if you're going to write a comic book, that's how you want it to go. You want to start strong so people feel, well, now I've got to finish reading these. Because I got so excited from that first couple issues, and then it's like, oh, well, we're not really going anywhere. Like I said, I think they could have done with a shorter series. I think if it had been a 3 or 4 book series, it would have been much better. Because you would have gotten to where you were going faster, and I guess it kind of feels like they sort of just did a lot of waiting around in the book. They didn't really get to where they were going. They didn't move forward quick enough, and that I think that sort of hurt it.
Well, what issue number was this?
This was issue number 5, and like I said, I think that they could have done this story in 3 to 4 issues easily. I actually think that had they done it as a tight 3-issue series, it would have been really great. But they sort of did a lot of universe building that I don't think they really needed to build, and that even in there we didn't even get that. It seemed like basically they have all these characters and they introduce a lot, but they don't really give you much of a strong backstory for them, and so you never quite get where you're going there. It seemed like there was maybe some stuff that I guess here's what I'll say. It seems like, with the inclusion of Ursa Major, they probably could have had more more Soviet superheroes in here, or more ties to Soviet superheroes that they just didn't really put in there, So that's what I'll say. It could have. I kind of feel like it kind of got bigger than it needed to, and in the end didn't really sell what it needed to sell. It just really kind of just got out of hand. Next is Rocket Raccoon, number 11. And for those who might recall, Rocket Raccoon, first off, he finds out he is not the only one thing like himself in the universe. There is another raccoon-esque being from Half-World, this one a female. Lovely, though, they don't really do any kind of romantic relationship between them. It's just that there's a male and a female of these raccoons, and they, Rocket has stolen the book, and she has the key to open the book, and so Rocket gets to find out his origins, and he realizes his origins are a hot mess, and he really now does not care where he came from, which is a nice turn on it. I found it was a nice a nod to the general wackiness of children's books, and again, I'll give that, for a book that is ostensibly, what, it is rated T. Raccoon. It is rated T, but a book that is definitely, I'd say it's a kid-friendly book. I certainly have no problems with my kids reading it, and but that it still gets into some nice depth of character and story. And even though, it essentially winds up back in full circle with Rocket in prison and having to break out with some other ne'er-do-wells, it conveys the story. It conveys the story well. And not to get always into my dwelling on of the fictional nature of comic books, but I do like just this realization that when he actually reads his own origin, how horrified he is by it, as just a delightful thing going into our dealings with Beyonders. So. Thumbs up for Rocket. Basically, what I'll say is I think that Rocket does everything right that I think Operation Sin did wrong. It explored things, it got to where it needed to go, and it kept it lively and exciting the whole time. And for what it's worth, I'm not the biggest fan of the artwork that we had in Operation Sin. I kind of felt it was a little static, so. That might be something that hurt it too, whereas the very cartoony Rocket Raccoon art is it's much more vibrant, much more engaging. And the final of my own books is Tales of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, and this is a fun book. And although it doesn't really dwell on the idea of the fictional nature of characters, it does essentially. Well, okay. So first thing about this, and I just have to call this out because it's one of my pet peeves. They have people held up in the Statue of Liberty, and the head is like the size of a large Brooklyn loft. And I'm sorry, I've been to the Statue of Liberty many times, and it is cramped and tiny up in the crown. It is not a place where you can't even really stand up in the crown, and you can't really.
In this universe.
I'm sorry?
In this universe.
Well. Basically, in this universe, I believe the Statue of Liberty is the tallest building in Manhattan. Because for it to have the proportions that they present, it would pretty much have to be one of the tallest buildings in the world. So that's that. But they have them all hanging out in the crown, and Doreen's roommate is there. And you have the heroes coming to the rescue. There are apparently dinosaurs attacking the laser dinosaurs too, fire-breathing laser dinosaurs attacking the Statue of Liberty. And the people held up in the crown are telling stories, the stories they know about the secret history of Squirrel Girl. And it's a lot of fun because they do date back to in its own way. What I'll tell you is that it reminds me a lot of the it reminds me a lot of the Age of the Century book, where you have these stories being told about these heroes, and the relation to the character in the actual reality is left as a little bit open. I mean, not directly, but certainly certainly if you're of my mindset, you go there. And, they have Squirrel Girl in the 1950s partnering with Captain America. And this, of course, would be, I'm guessing, the insane William Burnside Captain America from the 50s. And here he's partnered with Basslast, who was secretly the Red Skull the whole time, And that's just funny. You put the Red Skull in a dress. How is that ever not funny? And then they hey, I'm saying... That's why the Red Skull's a female now, because they said, you know what? Red Skull in a dress, always funny. And
Nazis in dresses.
Nazis in dresses. And then they do a nice little shout out to 80s Spider-Man storylines with Squirrel Girl and Scarlet Squirrel Girl as her clone, and her trip to the confidential battle. Where she gets a new costume. And although that one gets called out and says, I think you're thinking of Spider-Man. It's like, oh, yeah. And then there is the suggestion that Squirrel Girl is from the future, and that's why she is so unbeatable, because she just has knowledge of all things ever to happen. And after a few other alternate universe variations on Squirrel Girl, the day is saved. Doreen's roommate is freed, and then then she has to make it clear that, oh, I don't know you, stranger, because you don't want people thinking that Squirrel Girl actually has friends who could be attacked. So it all winds up with a wacky, fun book. Big thumbs up for Squirrel Girl again, and not much of a unified story, but still a great read. What did you read, Phil?
Well, the one thing I read that you didn't get was Return of the Living Deadpool #4.
Yes.
Final issue of the miniseries.
Yes.
We see Deadpool. He basically went to see this council of Deadpools, but they're crazy just like the other ones. So him and his teenage friend, trying to find her name here. Oh, Liz. They go back. They get to the non-Deadpool zone, and there's a machine that they, I guess you'd call them rebels, have, that if they can get a Deadpool in the machine and sit in it, which our Deadpool does, it basically alters him. He starts degenerating, and then next thing they show at the end, he walks into the city of Deadpools, and he's basically almost looks like he's barfing up black stuff on the other Deadpools, and he's a carrier of a disease that kills Deadpools now.
Who Deadpool is?
Yes.
So
I guess he dies, and most of the other Deadpools die, because on the last page, Liz is telling her grandfather that Deadpool killed off 99% of the pools, they call them, but there's still, a few on the loose, and she goes, this world's not big enough for more than one Deadpool, as she walks away in a version of Deadpool's costume.
Uh-huh. Dun, dun, dun.
I give it a thumbs up.
So that Deadpool died as well?
That's what they really don't show him dying. They show him, throwing up blackness on a bunch of the other Deadpools, and then the next panel is just, a bunch of melted Deadpools.
Well, I'll say this. Us Deadpools are never more dangerous than when we're dead.
And, of course, the last page, the next issue blurb, It says May 20th, 2015, Deadpool's Secret Wars.
Yay! Can't wait for the Secret Wars. The confidential battle. I'm wondering if he's going to run into Squirrel Girl.
That'd be great.
Okay, and that brings us to everything we both read.
Yes.
What do you want to open with?
You want to do Captain America?
Sure, let's start with Captain America. All new Captain America special. So this wraps up the series, and generally speaking, it's a good book, but I gotta call it out, just straight up. This is the Captain America special, okay? Yet, all the best lines, all the best story is given to Spider-Man throughout it. Quite literally, Captain America just happens to be flying by today and gets pulled into the story. And then, okay, now back to your regularly scheduled Spider-Man book. I really felt that they really gave Sam short. I mean, yes, Sam uses his bird powers to both communicate with the mutated avians and, call out his attack birds on Red Raven. and whatnot, and that I guess is cool. But at the end of the day, Peter Parker gets the big speeches. Peter Parker gets all the good jokes, all the good lines. Peter Parker even throws Cap's shield, poorly, but he still throws it.
Not good.
And it's like, and then Peter has the closing epilogue with Medusa. And
yeah.
Not for nothing, couldn't Cap have had that whole ending monologue with Medusa? Couldn't that, since it's Cap's book, couldn't that have been Cap's thing? I mean,
yeah.
I can't hate on the book because it's a good story. Wraps up the special series nicely, the Inhuman Era story nicely. But I just, it's like, it just, what it is? It kind of makes me feel like Sam Wilson, Captain America, is the Fetch of Marvel Comics. Marvel is just really trying to make Sam Wilson, Captain America happen, and it just seems like they're trying too hard,
Yeah, like they don't know which way to go.
Exactly, and it just seems like they stuck him in here to tie him into this big crossover, but it's like, but then they don't give him anything.
I think he was just there to play straight man to Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess so, and that's fine. I suppose, although I've never really thought of Falcon as necessarily a stoic. I mean, he's a 1970s, African American character. He had swagger, he had style, all throughout his run with Cap. I mean, he is that straight-laced kind of Captain America kind of guy, sure, but he could quip with the best of them. And I kind of feel like they're making him really, really, almost kind of broody, kind of brooding, not really.
Yeah,
that can have a different meaning in proper English. Very, very brooding. And I guess I don't know. And I don't mind a brooding Sam Wilson Captain America. Goodness knows he's been through a lot, but it just seems like they're rushing so much to get him out there, and they're not developing his story. And I guess and again, to go back to Operation Sin, it seems like they're trying to make something happen, and they're not letting it be organic. Rather than just trying first to tell a good story and then cross-promote Captain America through the good story, it seems like they said, well, let's just get as much cross-promotion out there, and we're going to turn Sam Wilson into the next Wolverine or the next Deadpool. And, because they're in everything. I
think that's the problem.
Yeah, well, but the thing is that Wolverine and Deadpool wound up in everything because that happened organically. People wanted to use those characters. And, with Wolverine, it was because he was kind of a minor character. So, yeah, sure, what the hell? Have Wolverine fight the Hulk. Have Wolverine do this. Have Wolverine do that. And then after a while, he just got so popular that it just seemed natural to have Wolverine do everything. It doesn't seem natural to have Captain America doing everything right now in this way. And I don't know, I kind of feel it's to the detriment of the character.
Well, yeah, because he's been in more crossovers than he actually had as his own solo book.
Exactly, and and I don't feel like that the stories that are getting told are at. What it kind of feels like? It almost feels like they want to build up this huge continuity, a huge backstory for Sam Wilson as Cap, in this short amount of time. So it's like, oh, we're gonna do 20 years worth of comics in like the next 6 months, so that you can have this ongoing history of adventures, and to explain why everyone just accepts Sam as Cap and sees Sam as Cap and knows who Sam as Cap is.
Yeah.
It just seems very inorganic. That's all. But I still like the character. I'm still on board with the character. I just really want Marvel to treat him better.
Yeah. So thumbs up.
Oh yeah, thumbs up. Like I said, thumbs up. I can't argue with the story. I'm just arguing with the treatment of Captain America. And it's a fine line, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, because you're right. Spider-Man did have the best line.
Yeah, he like I said, it was another Spider-Man book, and that's. I guess nothing wrong with another Spider-Man book, but it's it wasn't the Spider-Man book. That's the problem. It was another Spider-Man book, but someone else's name was on the cover.
Yeah.
And
can I tell you my two favorite lines?
Oh yeah, yes. What were your two favorite lines?
Well, both Spider-Man. the first one was, yeah, Steve had bird powers too. And then at the end, when he's talking to Medusa, and he's telling her about Gwen Stacy,
yes,
he goes, she wore a lot of raincoats and headbands, but it worked for her.
Yes. Well, it did. Got to give Gwen Stacy that. She. If there was anyone that could pull off a headband and raincoat, it was Gwen Stacy. Anyway, speaking of Amazing Spider-Man, or Spider-Man, do you want to go on to Amazing Spider-Man next?
Sure.
Okay. So this wraps up our Harriet Parker Industries story.
With the ghost.
Yes, with the ghost. Oh, and actually, that was actually one thing. Again, great lines with this is they reference in Captain America special Spider-Man and his amazing casual acquaintances, and here again we get Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
That's right.
I loved that series, man. It was great. Or that TV show.
Yeah.
Yes, with Bobby Drake.
That was the first one I watched.
And Firestar. For a lot of people, that was your introduction to Marvel Comics, man. You know, people hate on...
Yeah, the Spider-Man was.
Yeah, well, you know, people hate on the kiddie cartoons, but man, the kiddie cartoons, that's what builds you your comic book fans, you know?
Yeah, when I was a kid, that was like I think the last thing on Saturday morning was at NBC.
Mm-hmm.
It was Spider-Man and his amazing friends for half an hour.
Yeah.
And there was the Hulk.
Yeah, and I watched all those, man, and the Thing Shmoo Flintstone Power Hour. That was yes. So very good. So Marconi again, really saving the day for Peter all around. She's honestly, if that girl does not wind up a superhero by the end of this, I'm going to be disappointed. She is pretty awesome. Shock is pretty awesome. So it's nice to have him out there. And what I really get the feeling is that they really have like Peter like, wow, I'm really thinking that this Ms. Marconi is someone pretty awesome, and I think that she is just so gonna shut Peter down. He's gonna make a pass at her, and she's gonna be like, what are you doing, Slick? That you know, or no, I don't think she calls him Slick because he's not her Slick, you know.
You're no Otto.
Yeah, he's no Otto. He is not the superior Spider-Man. He's merely amazing. You know, and you know, she's waiting for Otto to make his big comeback. We know it's coming, maybe on Battle World, but yes. So yeah, but I mean, a good story all around. You know, definitely a thumbs up for it. I like.
Oh yeah.
But you know, and I like I said, I like the ancillary characters coming to the rescue because I really think that is a great. You know, I remember in a writing workshop I was in when someone was making this comment about how you don't have Jimmy Olsen save Superman. And I'm thinking, of course you have Jimmy Olsen save Superman. That happens all the time, and it's actually really awesome when the ancillary characters come to the rescue, when they come in and kick the kryptonite out of the way, you know, or do whatever it is that gets us to that next spot, you know. And with you know, Marconi just covering for Peter and saying, "Oh, Spider-Man, he snuck away that way." That was pretty awesome.
A backpack full of clothes.
Yes. And then we have our backup Black Widow feature. Black Cat. And where she burns down all the stuff that she went through the trouble of collecting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, you know, she is going crazy, man. She is getting all jokery on us. And, you know, just watching the city burn. I can see her building herself up here. And, you know, too bad everyone dies in the next month. So, yeah, but you know, I liked it. You know, Peter. You know, although it was good that she said, yeah, you know, let him. You know, go ahead, save him. I don't care. I made my statement. You know, and I don't know. I'm looking at that May Spider-Man scene. I gotta ask: does May know that Spider-Man is Peter Parker now?
I don't know. That's what I was gonna say. Because she seems to have really lightened up on Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, and she does make the mention that, you know, you have saved me multiple times. and for what it's worth, it's her nephew and they're 2 feet from each other.
Exactly.
I don't know how much of a voice-changing thing a thin layer of polyester will do, but I can't imagine it is so much that gee, you young man who is the exact height and build of my nephew. You know, and is best friends with my nephew, and I never see you and my nephew in the same room together.
And who builds his equipment?
Yes, so I think she maybe at this point is just sort of humoring him on that, but which would be fine because honestly, let's face it, you know, secret identities are for chumps. But big thumbs up on Amazing Spider-Man number 18. Just before all that is left is Secret Wars. On to Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
From spiders to ants. What did you think? You tell me what you thought. And you can love it. You can tell me how much you loved it. That's fine.
I liked it. I don't know if I loved it. I mean, Scott Lang defeats the bad guy.
But not
gets
really.
Everything he wants. Well, no.
No, the bad guy escapes.
Yeah, but I mean, he saves his daughter.
Saves his daughter. Yeah. Well, and I'm not quite sure what that was either. It's like, well, I killed all of her white blood cells. So that's gonna help, I guess. I don't. It's like, oh, she's rejecting your heart. Well, that's okay. I'll go in and I'll just shoot all of her white blood cells until it accepts her heart.
But then he gets everything he wants.
Yeah.
The ex-wife likes him.
Yeah.
He get more time with his daughter, but he's like, maybe I better stay away from her.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fine. Although I guess what's confusing about that to me is like, wasn't that the whole raison d'etre of the Ant-Man series? Is he's going to go and be a good dad? And now, basically, like Scott said, or not Scott, like Tony says, yeah, you know, it doesn't work because you don't work. Because you just, you know. And so, well, I'll just leave. Because things might be somewhat hard. And so I'm just going to leave. And, like Machine Smith at quitting time, you know? It just, yeah. And that was a little weird. I was waiting for at least one. I was waiting for Grizzly to maybe come back, you know, because Machine Smith, he's like, I can see that, you know, he's pretty out cold. He is a robot, but Grizzly, no man, I gotta help my boss, but nope. And
so
and then Darren Fox. I don't think so. Well, next issue is Ant-Man Annual #1 on sale in July. But of course, the entire month ended this week, so. Even though there's still some books here and there, I mean, I guess technically everything ends. I think there's supposed to be a point at which, yes, we are only buying Secret Wars titles next week, or by the end of the month. I think by June, everything's supposed to be over, but maybe not. I don't know. But
I thought there was maybe a few.
Yeah, that and Howard the Duck also. Not Howard the Duck. Something else I saw was also. Yeah, there's a lot that where the next issue is just the next issue they hype is the annual. Because I'm not even sure if the Hulk after this actually. You know, because there's only Secret Wars. Yeah, it doesn't give us a promo of the next Hulk issue either. So
yeah.
And speaking of Hulk, bow down before the Maestro, who isn't even in the issue. Even though we know he's in the 20th century, thanks to Spider-Man, or 21st century, thanks to Spider-Man 2099. And of course, also not two different Hulks in this issue either, just regular Hulk or Dr. Green and She-Hulk, and a decent story. It's nice bits of resolution between everybody, and Hulk having some nice personal growth there. That's always sweet. Talks about his fears of the Maestro, and then Bruce Banner and Betty have their nice little reconciliation, even though. She did what now? Did you say she had me shot? And this is the thing that bugs me. Why does Bruce have a mohawk? I know Hulk has a mohawk, but if you're going to say that because Hulk has a mohawk, Bruce should have a mohawk, then why doesn't Red Hulk have a mustache? These things bug me.
Maybe it's a side effect of the extremist.
Maybe. I don't know. I just think that they're inconsistent when it comes to Hulks and hair. Yeah, it's weird, but I like Hulk, Doc Green telling Betty that her and Banner are like Sid and Nancy, just so bad for each other, you know, which is probably very true.
So, thumbs up on this one?
Yeah, thumbs up, thumbs up. What did you think of our backup story with Lyra?
It was humorous.
Humorous, it was cute. It was guns that run on fear. That is a very weird little meta invention. That's all I'm going to say there. And of course, some kind of, I guess, awakening this. I guess now everyone's an Inhuman. I don't know, with the Terrigen crystal matrix that he gets injected with.
Yeah. I don't know. Didn't he freak out when the original Terrigen bomb would go off?
I don't know. I wasn't reading Hulk at that point, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think he did, and I thought they kind of cured him or suppressed his powers.
Okay. And we have the Chip and Demon dancers. That's cute. And then they get pulled back to our universe, and now they're her harem, although, just more slave boys than harems, which it's cute. And it's a neat play on Lyra, the culture she's from, and why she is different, because she is a being born of both man and woman, so her relationships to men are different than the typical people from Thunder's world. So, all very lovely. Yeah, thumbs up all around, I guess. It was a nice parting gift from the Hulk. And if we get another Hulk book, great. If we don't, we'll see it all on Secret Wars. Because I guess now we're like 6 months ahead now, and this is when everything starts going to heck with the Illuminati. That leads up to where we are now. Which brings us to dun 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 dun, Secret Wars #1. No. Very good book. Great way to start Secret Wars, I think. I don't think anything is as promising as the cover art, though. The cover art was pretty freaking amazing, and I like the high gloss, heavy paper. Reminds me of the '90s when you had all those specialty covers. Although I don't know why they reprinted Uncanny Inhumans 0 in the back, or they gave the preview in the back, because it's like, okay, aside from the fact that we've already read that, and that book is already out, and it already had previews elsewhere, it was like, okay. Mm-hmm. So one thing I found kind of fun in this is the difference between evil Reed and good Reed, I guess we'll say. 1610 Reed and 616 Reed, where the Illuminati are being straight with the world. They're saying, look, we don't think we can save things, but we're going to do what we can. And evil Reed is like, nah, I'm not going to tell them that. I'm going to tell them they can save the world if they destroy the other one, but that's not going to work. And basically, all the plans fell apart. And from what I've read, the characters in the people that are in Reed and T'Chilla's ship, those are the only characters from the 616 who survive into Secret Wars, as far as we know. That everyone else ceases to be. That is what Hickman had said about that in an interview with CBR today. Now, what I found interesting is, so Sue tries to save the people on her section of the life raft. Reed tried to save her, but he can't. But of course, Franklin Richards is in that ship. So, I don't know. I don't know if I buy the idea. Oh, he faded into nothingness. No, Franklin Richards. They all went over to the cornfield. He's always got a pocket dimension somewhere he can go to. So I think that is. Oh, although was Leach in, now there's a question. Was Leach in that ship or not? Because let's see here.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, because that's why they had Leach rooming with Franklin, so that his powers didn't get out of hand.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. Yeah, I can see Thing and Franklin there, and Johnny Storm. So it looks like. But earlier, they're all in the same room, and then I guess Reed goes off to a different part of the ship, and then that part of the ship breaks off.
Wait a minute. At this part, I think that's Ben Grimm holding the leech. So why is he doing his thing for him?
Oh, because Leech only affects mutants.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Leech's power dampening doesn't affect non-mutants. Although, what is with the way they drew Thing here?
Yeah, he looks weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like he's like halfway in transformation there. I don't know if that's some story we'll get somewhere along the line somewhere. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, it's a neat look, but it just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
All this and sorry, dropped you. And Reed loses the tips of his fingers. So I'm hoping we get some continuity on that.
Yeah.
Where we see Reed with like a half hand on Battle World. And then everything ends. And actually, I don't know if does Reed survive here? Because, we have his narration and, fading into a mask of doom there. And then I believe in nothing. Then it definitely makes me want to read the next issue. I'll tell you that much. Although, how great is Wilson Fisk's going away party? So, as the world ends, Wilson invites all of his buddies down to have a party, and who shows up but the Punisher? Every party needs a pooper, and that's why they invited the Punisher. Although, not for nothing, there's some real superpowered people here. You got the Absorbing Man and Flint Marko, the Sandman. Essentially, the Punisher walks in, he cocks his gun. The Sandman could literally bury him in sand and suffocate him in a minute.
Yeah,
it's all tough guy walking in, but he's also a little out of his league here. That's all I'm gonna say. But it's a fun scene. Yeah. It's a great scene. Beautiful artwork throughout this book, by the way. The only thing I'm actually kind of disappointed in is we don't get a lot of 616 versus Ultimate in the book. We don't get our superior Tony Stark versus their Tony Stark. Although we do get Ultimate Tony Stark hitting on Captain Marvel, so that's fun. But I was hoping we were going to get an actual Doc Green versus Ultimate Hulk. I thought that might have been pretty cool to have the two Hulks.
I think
I'm sorry?
Like they even said... Well, I was going to say, I think like they even said that the 616 has way more superhumans than the 1610.
Oh yeah, of course they do. Really, it's not even a fight, really. But I would have liked to have seen at least some of the 1610 heroes go up against their counterparts, just because I think that's what we're paying for goodness sakes,
Yeah.
But anyway, but beyond that, and maybe we'll get some of that later.
Beyond that?
But beyond that, let's talk about some of the premiums we got this week, including our map.
Nice glossy map.
Yes, the Battle World map. And of course, as we pointed out, what is interesting is there are still 3 classified areas on the map.
Yep.
And what are these classified areas is the question that we are kind of stuck with. Because it is a little weird that we're almost done. And, these 3 worlds are 3 worlds that we can't tell you about because it's going to give something away. At least that's what we assume. That it would give something away. And
out of 41, 6, 14, and 19 are classified.
Yes. Now, as we were talking before, what we don't see represented on here is we don't see the MC2 represented here anywhere. So one of them could have something to do with the MC2. We also don't have the new universe represented here anywhere. So which is a little odd, I think. Unless, of course, as I've wondered if the new universe is the universe that ended prematurely, that started the collapsing of the universes.
Maybe.
Yeah, and so maybe that has something to do with everything. And of course, we've seen Dr. Zero in the promo art featured prominently, so it becomes this question, are we going to get characters from the Epic Powerline story in here as well? These are the things that we don't know yet. Now, you had an interesting theory, because 2 of our worlds, 14 and 19, are sitting around the Eye of Agamotto, which is apparently some sort of a magical world. And
very small one.
That's interesting, to say the least. That Eye of Agamotto is surrounded by 14 and 19. Now, I don't know what that means, but it does seem interesting. And interestingly enough, 14 and 19 also both border Manhattan. Manhattan being where the 616 and the 1610 universe is held, which is strange. You know, that they've designated that Manhattan is cut in half with these two variations on it. The 1610 and the 616 worlds.
And Atalan's
and New Atalan is there. Now we know some stuff that has been released about some of these books. We know that, for example, Doctor Doom is the ruler of Battleworld. That has been revealed. It's been said that each of the different provinces on Battleworld have someone in charge, a local baron, who report to Doctor Doom. And we know that Medusa is Doctor Doom's consort in this. These are all things that if you read the solicits going forward... Oh, by the way, guys, spoilers. Now, maybe these are all misdirections in what they've released to us, but that's interesting. Now, here's something that has me wondering about our worlds we don't quite know what they are yet. Deadpool's Secret Wars is included in the Secret Wars crossover line. Mm-hmm. But Secret Wars officially is taking place on Battleworld, on the original Battleworld. So is one of these worlds Battleworld from 1984?
Maybe one of the classified ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And what does that mean that Deadpool has his own world here where he is facing Beyonder 1.0, you know? There is something deep going in here. And I'm very much wondering where we're going with this. It's very mysterious and interesting and exciting. So can't wait to see where it goes next. Now, one other thing we recently got, of course, we actually get to see what happens after Secret Wars because we got on Free Comic Book Day, we got our New Avengers, all new, all different Avengers #1, which takes place clearly after Secret Wars because it has Miles Morales in it. So he has come over to whatever comes after. He is part of that world, and there has apparently been a very big falling out between Sam Wilson Cap and Steve Rogers. And that really struck me because it made me wonder what is that going to be? What drives the wedge between Captain America and Sam Wilson? And does it have something to do that happened on Battleworld? Does it have something to do with what happened before Secret Wars? I mean, because I think that's going to be a big question in this: is does what happened on Battleworld affect what comes after? You know, do people remember Battleworld? You know, in the same way that the residents of that Colorado town that was part of the original Battleworld remembered Battleworld and knew things that were not common knowledge prior to that, you know. It's all very interesting.
So issue 2 comes out next week, right?
Yeah, next week. Yeah, they're I think it's actually only a 4-month process, and I think they're giving us two a month. You know,
it's 2 a month? I wasn't sure if it was every week.
Oh, is it going to be every week?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess it is. Yeah, one might be every week. Man, if we run through this whole thing in 2 months, that's going to be insane.
Well, that's what DC's doing with Convergence.
Yeah. This is going to get crazy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it is every 2 months and then we get to the other side, I guess that can happen. Yes. I'm going to be very interested in seeing how Little Marvel and New Quack City fits into all of this, you know. Oh, that's another one of the worlds that we haven't seen yet here is the Star Comics world, where we had because we know Spider-Ham is continuity now. You know, Spider-Ham isn't just fictional. He is real. He is as real as any Spider-Man. And all of the comical this is what I think is most powerful about these ideas, is this idea that all of these humor books, all of these comical concepts, they are all continuity. They are all real in this universe, and it is part of Battle World as well. I mean, we have Obnoxo the Clown in some of this promo art. So, yeah, there he is on the back of it. If you look in the upper right corner, you see Obnoxo the Clown.
Oh,
Obnoxo. Yeah. But do you know who is surprisingly missing?
Who?
Forbush Man.
There you go.
So one of these worlds could be Forbush World.
Did you see who's on the cover of Secret Wars 1, bottom right corner?
Was he on the cover?
Machine Man.
Oh, yeah, Machine Man's there. Yes. Actually, there's two different Machine Men there. It looks like, because that's... there's Machine Man reaching out his arm, and then I think that's actually also Machine Man just below him. Yeah, it's interesting about Machine Man. He is actually from the 2001 A Space Odyssey book. It was a sentient machine created by the obelisks. Yes. See, that is something that opens things up. Oh, also, Scott is the Phoenix again.
Yeah.
So that'll end well, I'm sure.
And I don't know where he got Sentinels.
Yeah. Nation X, he said. Oh, I guess he just got some and reprogrammed them. Now, here's an interesting thing in our, because on the back of this they also have the council, the Thors, all of our Thors. Mm-hmm. One of our Thors is Storm, which was, and that when Storm wielded the hammer of Thor, that was in a what if the heroes never left Battleworld? What if Secret Wars never ended? So seeing her included there, it gives me, it seems very interesting to me to have this idea of this character from What If Secret Wars Never Ended here on Battleworld during the new Secret Wars. So
her hammer looks different.
Yeah, well, it's very exciting, and I can't wait to see where it takes us. And they're going to be taking $5 a week from me. So $40 to see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think that's that. I think that is Battleworld. So what do you think?
That's all we know right now.
That's all we know. A lot of speculation, a lot of worry, but in the end, Dr. Zero will save us. Because that was his plan the whole time. Yes, it will be interesting. All
right. That's it, then.
That's it. See you on Battleworld.
Like us on Facebook, All New Marvel Roundup, and Super Connectivity. Get a hold of me at nightwingpdp@gmail.com and Twitter at nightwingpdp.
And you can email me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com and follow me at CharlieSer on Twitter.
So come back next week. Secret Wars is here. It's all going nuts.
Yes.